everyone, and welcome back to our Golden 20s podcast. My name is Tegan, and I am joined with my co-host Sadie.
Hello.
And this week we're talking about little luxuries that are actually worth it and the ones that aren't. And we will be brutally honest because I feel like every day on TikTok and Instagram, I'm inundated with people being like, you need to buy this, you need to buy this, you need to buy this. And I can never tell what's like real, what's sponsored, all that stuff. So we will break down the things that we love and the things that we bought and do not love. But before we get into that, we are going to do a connection card. And we're still in the blue category, which is the deepest category. And this is a card that says, I used to believe blank, but now I know blank.
Okay. I'm letting you go first because every week I am rambling and then you're like, okay, now I'm just distracted by your answer. So I'll let you go first.
Yeah, this one's hard.
I have an answer if you want to keep thinking
Okay,
about
you
yours.
go. All I'm thinking of is negative things. And I'm like, I don't want to say that. Like,
That's okay.
I used to believe like I could do anything. And now I know like, girl, it's not going to happen. But I want to try and think of something positive. So
okay,
you can go. And if I think of something positive, I'll say it.
Mine is also negative, depressing, and not good. But I used to believe that how much money you made was reflective of how hard you worked. And this is, again, kind of how I was raised, where it's like you need to work really hard for your money. But ever since moving to the city, where I've met people from different tax brackets and, you know, just people with very different upbringings and backgrounds and like generational wealth and things like that, I'm like, that is actually very untrue. Where a lot of the people in my life actually who have a lot of money or like are well off, it's not because of how hard they worked, it's because of generational wealth. And the words generational wealth, like I didn't even know what those words meant until probably like a handful of years ago. And it just like occurred to me like, oh, it doesn't matter how hard I work. Not saying I won't, like I'm definitely financially stable and like the most financially stable I've ever been in my life, which I'm very privileged and like thankful for. But I feel like this is like I need to like rewire my brain to be like, okay, no, if I actually want my money to grow, I need to learn how to invest my money. And like, I don't know, I just feel like there's ways to grow my income and like, yeah, my like personal worth, I guess you could, in like a monetary sense that does not relate to just hustling all the time. You know?
Yeah, that's actually a really good one because I remember being younger and my assumption was like growing up, I would like make more money than my parents and I would have like a bigger house than my parents because that was just like how I thought the world worked. And then it's like, I know like a lot of millennials probably listening, it's the opposite, especially if your parents are boomers, where it's just like that is just not how the world worked. But I just assumed that's how it was. So yeah, that's definitely a good one. And I also know a lot of people who have a lot of money who are not hardworking. And I know a lot of people who are hardworking and have not a lot of money. So yeah, that is also very accurate.
Yeah. I feel like I've talked about Bria Jones on the podcast before. She's like one of my favorite YouTubers, but she's kind of gotten away from the vlogs and now just focuses on her podcast. But she's an influencer and she's like, my number one mission is to start building generational wealth for my kids. Like everything she does, like that is her mission to kind of, just start creating a better future for like the generations to come. And I'm like, damn, like that is just, I don't know, just like a whole different way of thinking about things where, for me, I'm like, it doesn't matter how hard I work. I don't have any type of generational wealth. And like, I can't overcompensate from that just by working hard, you know? But then it's like, okay, but it just takes one person essentially to be like, okay, no, I'm going to try. Well, no, I was going to say it takes one person to kind of like break that cycle, where I don't actually think that's true. But in any case, I don't know. Now I could just ramble on about this, but it's interesting to be like, yeah, if you actually want to change things, it's more like setting up future generations. I don't know. I'm kind of getting lost from it, but yeah.
No, yeah.
I'm done rambling now.
Makes sense. Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. And even like as someone who's a married gal, I get asked a lot about when I'm going to have kids. And a lot of times we'll say like we don't really feel like we're financially in a place where we want to have kids. And that really like pisses people off for some reason, where I'm like, okay, one, why do you even care that much? But whatever, this is like triggering for people. And I have been told multiple times like, well, once you have a kid, like you'll make it work. And I'm just like, I don't want to do that though. Like, I don't want to have to like make it work. I want to be like, if I'm having a kid, setting this kid up for the best life they could possibly have. And like my husband comes from a not very privileged background where he had to go without a lot and had Christmases with no presents and had to choose not to go on field trips and things like that. And he's like, it sucks. I will not have a kid if I'm putting a kid in that situation. But like people just don't get that. So I totally understand what you're saying. And it's like, it sucks that I can't like do it for me, or like that he can't go back and do this for little Tyrell. But if he decides to have a kid, he's like, I'm setting this up in a way so that my kid can have the privileges that I didn't have.
Exactly.
But don't talk to people about that because people get very angry for some reason. Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of the lessons I learned, like a lot of the things I used to believe were just like, actually, okay, this is kind of negative, but kind of positive too. It's like I used to believe that I could do anything and it would just like work out. And now I know that that's not true if you're not willing to put in the work. Where I'm still kind of like, I do believe like if you want to do something and you want to put your mind to it and put in the work, then it'll happen. But just like thinking this is going to happen, like that's not manifesting. Like we've talked about in an episode a long time ago, I won tickets to see Hamilton, the musical. And I was just like, I'm going to see Hamilton. I'm not buying tickets because I know I'm going to win them. And I was like, and this is me manifesting them. But I still entered the contest every day. Like I was manifesting and believing, but like I was still putting in the work. And so maybe that's a silly example, but I feel like I've learned like it's all possible, but you have to be willing to put in the work and figure out how you get there, because that's the actual hard part.
Yeah. No, I love that so much, Tag. And that really resonates with me because I feel like I'm somebody who really like advocates for like living your best life. And I feel like I like try to live my best life, and people are always like, look at me like it's easy. And they're like, oh, I wish I could do that. And it's like, but it's hard. Like it is hard. You need to, commit, have vision. That's one thing. Know what you want. And like, believe you can actually achieve it. But then putting in the work is all it takes to actualize that vision. So
damn. What a good question.
Yeah, that is a great question. I actually am really looking forward to our connection card questions every week now. I'm loving this deep category. Hopefully our listeners are too. Because I just ramble and ramble. Now the episodes get longer, but whatever.
Yeah. I do think it's fun, especially if like we have listeners who have been with us since we started in the pink category, to be like every week just getting to know us like a little deeper, I think is really fun. And if you want to buy your own connection card deck, anyone listening, we have like a link to purchase a deck that I think we put in the bio. So we use the one from Happy Tears. Obviously there's like a whole bunch from a bunch of different companies, but this one was sent to us and we are really loving it. So figured I'd mention that. But great. All that to say, let's dive into the actual topic we're here to discuss, which is little luxuries and the ones that are worth it, the ones that aren't. And yeah, I did want to bring up that little luxuries are having like a big spike right now because this is something that is seen in difficult economic times. It's also referred to as a phenomenon called the lipstick index. And so basically, it's when you're in hard economic times, lipstick sales spike and people can figure out like what's the deal, why are people buying more lipstick when they have less money. And it's because it's considered like a budget conscious treat. So for people who would normally be buying a lot of makeup, they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna cut back my spending at Sephora, but as a little treat I'll get myself just a lipstick. So that's the idea. There's obviously a lot of economic drama going down. I feel like this applies to wherever you live. And it's, while we understand like times are tough for lots of people out there and lots of people are like adjusting their budgets, I do still think it's important to be like rewarding yourself, especially for like working hard, achieving goals and things like that. And that's where I think like the little luxuries can come in.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's also like peak Black Friday season right now. I think Black Friday is the week this episode drops. So it's like, yeah, if you're just looking for a little something for yourself, or maybe some of these things even make gift ideas. I don't know. I feel we'll have a whole other episode about gift ideas, but these are just little things that, yeah, I feel like we deem worth the money.
Yes, definitely. Did you want to kick us off, Sadie, with your first little luxury recommendation?
Sure. I'll maybe kick us off with the one thing on my list that makes sense to maybe gift. Since I just mentioned that, I can't just segue from throwing that out there to like something that isn't really giftable. So I'll start with a matching PJ or lounge set. I feel like I've mentioned this before, but wearing a matching set, if it's like a matching workout set to a yoga class, or if it's like a sweatshirt, sweatpants set, or if it's just like a matching pajama set, I just feel so put together and cute, and it just brings me so much joy. And I feel like this is something where it's like a lot of the times you have to buy these things separately. Like for instance, I just bought pajamas at Aerie that match, but I had to buy the shirt and the pants separately, so it does get expensive. But that's why I'm kind of considering it like one of these little luxuries where to me it's worth it to just buy the whole set, not just like half of it kind of thing. And again, I think it makes a great gift because maybe people wouldn't buy this for themselves. Or I also think my sisters are actually great examples because they have like the most like tattered pajamas they've had for years, and it's like t-shirts they've had their whole lives kind of thing. Like when we went up the CN Tower when we were kids, they still have these like t-shirts because they bought them like 15 sizes too big back then kind of thing. And it's like they have holes, and you know, I feel like there's a time and place to wear like PJs like that or like loungewear like that. But for me, I just love when I can like, I don't know, elevate those kind of like cozy moments or like chill moments for myself. And I just feel way different and like put together when I'm wearing a cute matching set. So that's the first thing on my list.
Yeah, I love that. I also feel like if you can't afford like a full matching set, I don't think I've ever bought like a matching set all at once, but I will pick like one color. I'm like a Lululemon girl, so I'll pick like one color at Lululemon and then like slowly build up my collection. This color is black, so it's like, okay,
that's
girl,
easy.
relax. But yeah, so it's like I've got now, because I've been buying for like my entire adult life, like a pair of Lululemon pants and a matching sports bra and a matching tank top and the matching jacket. And so it's like you can mix and match and have the set, but I didn't buy it like all at once. I bought like the shorts first and then like built my way up to the pants and that sort of thing. But
yeah. I kind of have another thing that's kind of similar, and maybe I'll just say it when we're on the topic of like matching sets. But the other thing on my list was a good everyday bra. And I feel like when my bra and underwear match, it's the same vibe as like wearing that cute matching like lounge set that we're talking about. So that's why I'm like, they're kind of related, kind of different. I prioritize a good bra just because I'm somebody who needs to wear a bra every day kind of vibes. So I want to make sure it's a bra that fits and something that's comfortable and, you know, something that I want to wear every day. So sometimes that might mean spending a bit extra to get that perfect fit or to get that style that you love and look forward to wearing, even though that's a weird thing to say, but like I genuinely do. So I wanted to mention that as well. And just extra points if your bra and underwear matched. For me, the days mine do, not every day. For sure, I do not live every day with matching bra and underwear, but the days I do, I'm like, damn, I feel so put together and just like, I don't know, sexy for some reason. But yeah.
Yeah.
The power of a matching set. If people can see it or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it internally.
Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I just got like into lingerie this year. And part of it was like Sadie and I went to a lingerie shower for one of our friends who was getting married. And I was just like, oh, this is so cute. And now she has so much nice lingerie. And I've been married so long, not so long, but 4 years and have like nothing. And then I was like, I should just buy it for myself. Like, you know what I mean? It was like one of those moments of like good jealousy where I was just like, okay, but why am I just like standing in my own way? So that's been my little transformation this year. And it's been so good. Like nothing makes you feel sexier. I actually feel like we should do an episode that's just like how to feel sexier day to day.
I love that. Yes.
And this will definitely be on the list. But all of that to say, I love it. It can be hard to like buy lingerie for people. Like as Sadie and I learned at this lingerie shower, it was a struggle because it's like everyone's different sizes. But yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I'll mention, I'll stick with maybe like the clothing category, and it is paying to get things either like tailored or repaired. And this is something, if you are starting to dip into buying pieces that are supposed to be like for your lifetime, maybe things that are a bit more expensive, I think that it can be really valuable to invest in the tailoring of clothes and the repairing of clothes. And even like for me, I have a pair of Fry boots, which if you know, they are very, very expensive. I've had them recobbled once. I will probably have them recobbled again. I think it was like maybe $30 to get a new heel like cobbled compared to buying a new pair of boots for however many hundreds of dollars they were. So I wanted to mention that. Even like purse repairs, if you're buying purses that are like actual leather, my cobbler will do repairs and things like that. And so I wanted to mention that. I see this come up a lot with like vintage jeans as well. If it's like you just can't find your perfect pair of jeans, the move might be to buy a vintage pair and get them custom tailored to you, because it's like that is the difference, I think, between day to day everybody on the street styling and celebrity styling, is they have everything they're wearing tailored. It all fits perfectly, and it just like it makes you look good. You're not looking like frumpy or like things are the wrong size. So wanted to mention that.
Yeah, I feel jeans is the perfect example that probably every woman I know in my life could relate to, that where like they struggle to find jeans that fit their waist and their hips at the same time and their thighs in some cases. And it's like, yeah, if you can find a good pair of jeans and then get them tailored, like that's likely worthwhile doing. So I love that.
Yeah.
Next on my list, I will call out my gel manicures. And if you are a longtime listener of the podcast, you've definitely heard me talk about my nail appointments as my like little way of treating myself, and just like it's a standing appointment I have every couple weeks where I'm like not going to the hairdresser on like a regular basis. Even facials, I've fallen off from getting those super routinely. Waxing, I do more like seasonally. My nails though, guys, it's been like, I don't even know, when did we go to Nashville Tag? 2021?
2021.
So this is like going on 3 years of nail appointments for me, and I feel like it's probably not everybody agrees that it's worth it, but for me it is. Again, it just makes me feel more confident, like I have my shit together. I feel like it completes every outfit. I feel like it makes me like more professional. I don't know. I just love having my nails done. I also love sitting in the nail salon for 1 to 2 hours, depending how fast my nail girl is going, and just like chatting with my nail girl because I see the same girl every couple of weeks. I love just like zoning out and having that me time to not look at my phone, nothing. It's also like a space outside of my office and my home where I can go and just kind of like decompress. So, yeah, it might be a hot take, but I personally feel like getting my nails done is worth it for me.
Yeah, I love that. I also am a big fan of getting my nails done, although I hate sitting there getting them done. It's just like
a lot of people do
sensory overload. Where it's just a lot to like have someone touching you and to be like out in the world, someone's touching you, and like the salon I go to is always really noisy, and it's just like the fluorescent lighting and just not the vibe. I can do like the pedis because I'll bring a book. Right. And then I'll be just like reading it. But the manicure, like it's not necessarily relaxing for me, but I do love like the result afterwards and feeling put together. And one of my big things is if I don't have my nails done, I will break my nails and then I'll bite them. And I just hate the look of me biting my nails. Like, and not even like the look of bitten nails, but just me sitting there. Like, you just don't look confident when you're biting your nails. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my whole story. But
yeah,
I love it.
I think the other big thing for me is I can't do my own nails. Like, if I do my own nails, it literally looks like I'm 5 years old trying to paint my own nails. Like, so that's not an option for me, where I feel like if you're somebody who can get the LED light at home, you can paint both hands, they look nice, you can file your own nails, have a nice shape, this probably isn't worth it for you. But for me, that's just not an option, no matter how hard I try, because trust me, I did try. And now I'm like, nope, this is worth it. Let's outsource this because, it makes me feel great, but I can't get those results myself. So,
yeah, definitely. I think the next thing on my list is I'll mention two things, and both of them I feel like are the best when I'm like, this is how I need to feel like I have my shit together. I've just cleaned my entire house, apartment. I need to feel like I'm an adult. Number one is fresh flowers. This is obviously like a complete luxury. If you are cutting back in your budget, I feel like this is the first thing that can go. They don't really form like a function in your home besides like looking beautiful. And so I still try to keep that as a part of my weekly budget because it just feels so grown up. They actually, like, if you take care of them, can last quite a while. I feel like it's a nice way to bring like some seasonality into your decorating. So I love me some fresh flowers. And kind of on the same wavelength, I am a big fan of nice candles and even like luxury candles, which I guess is like different for everyone. I think the most I've probably spent on a candle is like $60, which is obviously quite expensive, but I know that there are candles that cost way more than that. But I really love it. I find that candles actually last a pretty long time, especially if you're being like mindful while burning them. So I have some candles that, you know, I've spent $60 on and they've lasted me like 4 years. So to me, I think that that's a worthy investment. I'm also a big like scent person. So I buy certain candles and then only burn them at certain times. So I'm very specific with like my Christmas candles only get burnt at Christmas. I have special candles I only burn when I'm reading books, and I have candles that I only burn when it's a new moon, and all kinds of psycho things I do. So I'm very passionate about them, as you can tell. But I wanted to mention that because it's little, but it's nice. It's like a little treat.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much, where I also have, well, actually right now I don't have any luxury candles at all, but maybe last Christmas I got one that I was like Okay, no, I don't need to get into all the specifics. I've had a few and where I only light them on very specific nights where it's like this night is a very
Yeah.
intentional self-care night and I'm lighting this candle and it just again it feels different for some reason even though it's just another night, technically just another candle, but it just feels different when it's a different intention behind it. So, yeah, that really resonates with me.
Yeah, and it can take you back to that headspace too. Like Sadie and I did a candle making class last, I feel like it was January or February. And so I was like burning my candle in that little section. And then I like moved on to summer candles and stopped burning it. And then I smelt it the other day and I was like, damn, I just picture us making this little candle in January. So it really like can transport you too, which is nice.
Yeah. I love that. I think the next thing on my list is like still self-care, I guess, but like more food and drink related. And this is okay, so hold on. I'm like tripping over my words here. Pressed juice and or kombucha is the first thing I was going to mention. And I feel like for me, food is like number one priority. And if there's like I do treat myself to getting my nails done. I love to shop. But a non-negotiable for me every single week is like doing groceries. And I bitch and complain about how expensive groceries are because, especially here in Canada, like the cost of living is absolutely ridiculous. And like groceries are extremely expensive. But I'm like, if I ever need to like cut back on budget, it will not be at the grocery store because this is extremely important to me. And I feel like pressed juice and kombucha I call out as little luxuries because I don't buy them every single week. However, I do like to work them in most weeks because I feel like it's just a really good way to like support your body and I don't know, just give you like nutrients and help your gut health and all of these things because I think there's so many things that benefits outside of just feeling fancy because you're drinking a $7 juice. And initially I started drinking juice because it felt very bougie and it felt very like luxurious and I don't know. I feel like that's why I was drawn to it. But now I'm like, okay, no, like this is actually really good for me. And it's like a way I take care of myself and support all areas of like my health. So I feel like that I wanted to mention, but I also wanted to mention my Brita and my Stanley and my Swell because I feel like, again, I don't think everybody would see a $7 juice as a worth it expense or like however much you spend on kombucha. But I feel like we can all agree water is extremely important. And I think for me, just probably within the last few years, I started using a Brita filter, like one of the pitchers that I keep in my fridge, rather than just drinking tap water. And again, we're very lucky and privileged here in Canada to be able to drink the tap water. But for me, I've taken it that step further and started drinking filtered water. And I feel like that is also a really like, I don't know, worth it expense, I guess. And then my Stanley has really encouraged me to like drink way more water than I was pre-Stanley. And I know people feel their ways about Stanley where it is such a like crazy phenomenon, but for me it actually works where it does encourage and like hold me accountable to drinking a lot of water. So for me it's worth it. And the days where I'm not drinking from my Stanley, either like at the office since it's kind of like cumbersome to carry around my Stanley from meeting room to meeting room, I'll just carry my Swell. And I feel like that was like the first like I don't know hydration, what's the word I'm looking for?
Trend.
Yeah, exactly. And it still does the trick. So also want to shout out my Swell as well.
I love that. Yeah, my next one is like sort of food related, but also sort of not. But if you've been like listening to this podcast before, if you know me, you know that I love Uber Eats and I love like going out to dinner. And obviously that can be like very expensive. And so when I'm budgeting, that's usually like the first thing that gets cut because it's, I would say, like one of my more like frivolous spending areas. But I did want to say one little luxury that I think is actually worth it is investing in like a nice dining set. And this can kind of be whatever you want it to be and with it, whatever budget range makes sense for you. To me, it's like cloth napkins, a nice set of dishes that are like special, not my everyday dishes, candlesticks and some tapered candles with like some wine glasses. And you can usually find all of these things at the thrift store for quite cheap. If you had a wedding, you probably got purchased some of this stuff if you had it on your registry. And some of my friends have asked me if I've like ever used my wedding china. And I'm like, yeah, actually, I use it all the time because I use it as sort of an alternative to going out for a date night and making it like a nice moment at home. And while it is like an upfront expense, I save a lot of money by having nice dinners at home as opposed to having nice dinners out at restaurants. Obviously, like I still go out to restaurants and especially on special occasions, but I feel like this is just a nice way to be a little more mindful of your spending if you tend to overspend by like going out to eat or Uber Eats and that sort of thing. And theoretically, it lasts your whole life. That's the idea behind getting like gifted it at your wedding, is these like dishes I'm supposed to pass on to my kids. So to me, it was a worthwhile expense if you're using them. So if you're listening and you have wedding china that you're not using, go use it because it makes your life so much nicer.
I love that. I think another thing, kind of household related, is Egyptian cotton sheets. And I swear I've gone on a rant about Egyptian cotton sheets on the podcast before, but I want to plug it again because to me, this is extremely worth it. Egyptian cotton sheets are very expensive. Like I'm talking about bed sheets. They're expensive, but to me, it's worth it. Similar to what I was saying about like how I really prioritize like food because I know that'll impact every area of my life, staying hydrated, things like that. So does getting enough sleep and getting a good sleep. So I feel like having bedding that you look forward to like crawling into bed at the end of the day and you're like so cozy and it supports you having a good sleep, like that is definitely prioritized in my self-care routine and definitely a luxury that I think is worth it.
That is very interesting when we get to my not worth it category.
Yeah.
We will discuss further.
We will.
I love that for you.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I had on my little luxuries that I think are worth it is high quality cleaning supplies. And I know that this is controversial. I have like grandmas in my life who are like, all you need is vinegar to clean. Anything else, like it doesn't leave anything as clean. It makes things sticky, you know, very that vibe. I understand, but I need my fancy cleaning supplies. I just love romanticizing like the little lame moments. And to me, part of that is using the nice cleaning supplies. And in my opinion, they make it easier to clean. So some things that come to mind are the Scrub Daddy and the Scrub Mommy. I'm very passionate about them. I have a whole family of daddies and mommies, all different colors for all different things. Another thing we've both mentioned a lot is the Dawn Power Wash spray for doing your dishes, things like that. Like cleaning sucks. It's already hard to stay like motivated to do it. So I say like lean in, use products that make your job easier, use products that are fun to use and that smell nice. And so that really, you know, could be whatever it is to you. It could be at all different price ranges, but that's something that, like your groceries, I will not skimp on. I will always be buying the Dawn Power Wash, no matter what.
That's funny. I love it. I just realized I skipped over one thing on my list, and that is a nice razor. And this is, again, something where I grew up just like using like disposable razors. My mom was just like, whatever, like just get the cheap one, throw it out, replace it the next shower kind of thing. So this is what I grew up thinking. And I remember one of my older sisters, she was like, no, I'm going to get a nice razor. And then it always like stood out in the shower. I was just like, damn, like she's so, I don't know, so much older, more mature. She has like a nice razor. And then just like literally a few years ago, I upgraded like the type of like cheap disposable razor I used to be a little bit nicer, and now I'm onto the flamingo razors, probably just for the past like year or so, where you just change the razor head, and it actually is so much better because I have sensitive dry skin, especially on my legs. I don't know why my legs, I guess I must have dry skin everywhere, but I really notice it on my legs.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I can just tell how much better my skin is when I use a razor that's not, as like cheap and harsh on my skin. But I don't know. For me, it's just worth it to spend that little bit extra on a nicer razor. So wanted to mention that as well.
I love that. And hot tip, sometimes men's razors are the same and they're significantly cheaper because of the pink tax. So something to keep in mind if you're like on the disposable train, you're like, I want to upgrade, but it's so much money. Check out the men's section because you can get some deals.
Yes, I've heard that as well. Same for like face razors, but I've not made that. For me, I'm like, it's worth it. I will buy the pink one. I'll pay more, whatever.
I use the kind that has like the bars of like soap or whatever. So it's like those are quite girly. The pink tax to the moon. But I love them. The scent's very nostalgic to me. So I am the same where I will always
we're like, it's worth
spend the money on that. And I do remember the first time I bought razors with my husband though, and he was like, your razors cost how much money? I was like, welcome to my world. Crazy.
Well, shall we talk about things that are not worth it?
Yes, definitely. And this was actually a category that was sort of hard for me to come up with things because I do feel like I'm somewhat cheap. So for the most part, I think a lot about things before I buy them, but I did have a couple of things come to mind. The first thing is the opposite of something you said. So this is how you know, anyone listening, that it's real. Not being like sponsored to talk about these things, but I think something not worth it is fancy bedding, especially if you live with a man and or cats. Because when I got married, I got gifted like 3 sets of really, really nice bedding. And I was like, this is great. It'll last me my life. I don't even think it lasted a year. And in comparison to bedding I've bought at like IKEA, I have bedding I bought in 2020 and it's still going strong. So that's just my thoughts. Again, I live with a man and I've talked to another friend who also bought fancy bedding and then was like, it got ruined because he was so sweaty and it got so nasty. And I was like, okay, so this is like a universal man problem. So it could just be my rage from that. But I also have cats. So some of the bedding got like ripped up from their claws and things like that. All this to say, I am team IKEA bedding. If I'll splurge on anything, I will splurge on like a little blanket. But for overall, like, especially fitted sheets and things, I'm usually pretty cheap.
So when you say fancy bedding, do you actually mean Egyptian cotton? Have you had Egyptian cotton sheets?
I don't
That's a
know. I would know. I have flannel. So
okay,
the 3 sets
that's hot.
were flannel. Yeah, that's the
that's
like winter bedding.
Yeah.
One was cotton.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was Egyptian cotton. But it was white. And so the side where the man's became disgusting.
Yes, I agree with you where to me thread count means nothing. And that's a hot take maybe, but like I went to fashion business school, guys. We studied textiles. We talked about thread count. But for me, I'm like, I don't care about thread count. However, Egyptian cotton. So I can see where you're like high thread count, high price tag, not worth it.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with that. But Egyptian cotton specifically.
What brand did you buy?
Mine are just from Winners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But they're just so, like, my mom, it's interesting because my mom has Egyptian cotton sheets and they're very, like, satiny almost. And, like, they're, like, slippery, but they're also very cozy. Where mine aren't, like, satiny at all, but they're just so cozy. And, like, they are extremely smooth and stuff, but I don't know. They're great. And I will say, mine are also starting to get, like, clawed up because my cat has to like make biscuits on everything. And also this is so disgusting, but like there's so much cat hair in my bed. My cat also has very fuzzy paws, so she like tracks litter through the house where I'm like, my bed is always a hot mess. Also my bed is my cat's hiding place, as Tegan knows. She literally hides under my blankets in my bed. So I agree where it's like yeah, it kind of sucks that your bedding's expensive and nice, and then it's just all cat hair and
Yeah.
and stuff. But for me, I'm like, it's still worth it because I just sleep so
Yeah.
good in my Egyptian cotton sheets.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's fair. It
yeah,
is probably two like price points. Like the nice bedding I was gifted was like $250, and
yeah,
then to have to replace it, I was like,
yeah,
I am not paying that like
yeah,
once every 2 years because it got ripped up from these effing cats.
yeah,
But yeah, obviously, like maybe there's a step between IKEA and the $300 sheets. But
yeah. It's Egyptian cotton from Winners. I should get you some for Christmas because I'm so passionate about this. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever used it. Is there a cotton that's like has a P, like cotton per?
Yeah. Like,
that's definitely the one set I had.
Okay, yeah. I know what you're trying to say. I'm blanking on that word right now.
Yeah,
but yeah. Okay. Anyways, we can move on from Egyptian cotton. I feel like I'm partially with you. Like the whole thread count thing. I'm with you on that for sure. Not worth it.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I'm going to mention is going to be a big surprise, but I ranted about this on Substack like 2 weeks ago, which, fun fact, I do have a little Substack that I write every now and again on if you want to check it out. But I wrote about de-influencing the Sephora sale. And as soon as I like sent it out, my sister texted me and was like, oh my God, you like caught my attention because I did not expect this type of content coming from you because I'm number one Sephora girly typically, but I've just had the realization over probably the past year that expensive skincare and expensive makeup isn't worth it in the sense that your whole skincare routine does not have to come from Sephora. And why I say that is because mine has for many years, 3 years in fact, and it was in like a desperate measure to try to heal my acne and, you know, the whole skincare journey I've been on. And as soon as I switched to just using drugstore brands like CeraVe, La Roche-Posay, Elf in the makeup space, my skin started to get a lot better. And this is way more budget friendly. It's easier to maintain. I don't feel as like, oh, I need to buy this because I saw it on TikTok. Like, I'm like, I know these products work for me. I can manage to keep up with them and it's not breaking the bank. That's all I need. So I do think it is still nice to like you're saying, Tag, like have that like lipstick that maybe you splurge on, or, you know, I have maybe like a serum from Sephora, but it's just having your entire skincare routine and entire everyday makeup routine be really expensive products. To me, that's no longer worth it. But I had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I'm also very pro skincare, like travel sizes. And I know that, like, in the world of spending, they're usually less value. But I am like, I'm not going to risk buying an entire giant ass thing of skincare if it's not going to work with my skin. So I am very pro if you are expanding into the like Sephora luxury world of skincare to try out some travel sizes before you commit. And actually, something on my not worth it list is sort of related, and it's blind buying perfumes. So I will not do this. And it just like boggles my mind that I see people buying perfumes because they saw a recommendation on TikTok, because I find the perfumes are so personalized. And there's like some chemistry around like how they react with your skin, how they smell different on everyone. And perfume is also just really expensive. So I have blind bought a couple of perfumes, never a full size. And I've learned my lesson that it's just like not worth it. The most I'll do is sometimes they have like trial perfume kits where you can get like a whole bunch. I will buy those, try them out, but I will never blind buy full size perfumes.
Yeah, that's a great call. I think I blind bought one perfume and it was a huge mistake, where now it's just sitting in, and I bought it because it was on sale. It was from a brand that I really liked, and I was like, okay, well, it's on sale, like how bad can it be? And then to your point, I smelled it in the bottle. I was like, okay, that's not too bad. And then I wore it one day and I was like, no, I absolutely hate this. Like, it is just so not me. And now it just sits on my, like, in my vanity, and I'm like, regret. Yeah. The next thing on my list is maybe a hot take, but something I don't think is worth it is having a monthly subscription to every streaming service. And why I say this, I'm guilty of this. Don't get me wrong. Like, I have, and this is even worse if you're in the States. Like, if you're in the States, I feel sorry for how many streaming services you have to subscribe to just like watch whatever it is you're looking to watch. In Canada, I have like Crave, Netflix. I use my sister's Amazon Prime. Every now and then I'll reactivate my Apple TV and then Disney Plus. I think those are like the main ones here in Canada. But to have them all active every single month and be paying that monthly fee, definitely not worth it, because at least for how I watch things, like, and I feel this is kind of normal, where you start something and you're like binging a series, but it's all on one streaming service, obviously. Like, you could probably spend a month or two pausing your other subscriptions if you're not using them. You know what I mean? And I feel like Apple TV was actually the biggest one for me, where you can find anything on Apple TV. If you can't find it on there, you can rent it on there. So I just kind of had my Apple TV as like evergreen. And then I was like, wait, this cost me $15 a month, and I watch maybe one movie like a month on there. Like, it's just not worth it. So I feel like, that's something that I've just been very conscious of lately and wanted to share, but I know it might be a hot take.
Yeah, no, that's such a good one. When we bought our house and we're like, okay, we need to save money, we got rid of Netflix, because we were like, how often do we actually watch Netflix? And it was like never. And if we were watching it, it'd be like, I guess we'll watch Love is Blind season 10 in the background. And it's like, okay, if I can't watch it, will I be sad? No. So that's definitely a good one, because those things like just every month get charged to your credit card and you don't even think about it. And
exactly. It's like you're paying.
That's a good one.
I understand you're paying for the convenience of being able to watch anything at any time, but it's just like, when we're talking so it's kind of like the luxury part of it, or the little luxuries, that convenience. But at the end of the day, for me, not worth it.
Yeah. Well, and with us, like, I love my Bridgerton. So I'm like, when Bridgerton comes back,
exactly,
I will pay for the month.
It.
And I'll watch it all in one day, and then I will cancel it again.
Exactly.
And yeah, definitely. I think the last thing I had on my list of things that I do not think are worth it are designer sunglasses. And this is mainly because I just cannot take care of sunglasses. My sunglasses, for me, it's kind of like the way I talk about using my phone, where I'm like, this is just a tool for me. Like, if it can't handle my life, it's not right for me. And my sunglasses, like, they're thrown in my purse, they're like left in the car, that vibe. So I spend maybe like $30 tops on on sunglasses. I will not buy designer sunglasses.
Like, damn.
I had a pair of Prada sunglasses one time. I don't know where they are. That was the extent.
I love that. Yeah, I've never owned designer sunglasses either, so love that. Last thing on my list, this one's funny because I do this all the time, but I know it's not worth it, yet I continue to do it, is buying every book new. And why I always like justify it being like, well, at least like you're supporting the author at full price, whatever. The thing is, it's not worth it, because chances are you're going to read this book once and then it's just going to sit on your shelf. Yet you paid 20 to 30 bucks to read it, where it's like you could have just waited a couple weeks to get it out of the library. You could have looked and like scoured used bookstores for it. You could have asked your friends to borrow it from them if one of them bought it. Like, there's so many things you can do before you buy it new that probably wouldn't have cost you anything. However, again, it's like the luxury of the convenience of just buying it new. You know the bookstore is going to have it where the library might not. Like, that's why I always go this way. But I know at the end of the day, it's not worth it. And there's also a chance you buy the book and you don't even like it. And then you're like, well, I have to finish it because I bought it. I spent money on it. But then it's like, but then maybe it starts your reading something. I don't know. There's just like more to lose than there is to gain when you actually buy it. So, yeah.
Yes, definitely. I feel like I got better the more I read, where now, one, I can usually like tell if I'll like a book beforehand. And there's also just like so many authors that I'm like, I will buy every one of their new books.
Right.
That I'm like, I'm not going to buy other people's random books. Like everyone else, besides like my 5 favorite authors, I will get from the library and call it a day, or buy like secondhand. So yeah, I feel like the more I read, the better I got. But if you're a romance reader, it's so hard. Like every romance book gets like hyped up as the best book ever written, and everyone I read, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's like the 50 other books I read this year. Like, great, I'm glad I spent $40. I will also say books are very expensive in Canada, like significantly more than the US and the UK. If people are listening and like, girls, relax. It's like a whole thing here. So yeah, I am definitely with you on that.
Okay, cool. Well, there you go, guys. Again, I feel there's maybe some hot takes in here. Maybe not everything resonated, but these are the things that we think are worth it as little luxuries, and the things that we think you can pass on. But we would love to hear from you. So make sure you are like following us, subscribe to us, whatever you do on the platform you're listening to this. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, you can actually leave us comments on the episode to like share things that are worth it, not worth it, that sort of thing. You can also follow us on social media. Send us a DM. We're at our Golden 20s. And that's on pretty much all the platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, everything pretty much. You can find us there and chat with us there. We also have a Patreon community, which is the best way to support the podcast for as little as $2 a month. You get access to all of our episodes early, as well as completely ad-free. So if you're an avid listener of the podcast, definitely check us out over there. And I think that is everything. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye.